this April, March, we've seen about 2,400 clients. And the youngest client that has been there is a 4-month-old baby that was raped by her father. And the oldest we have seen is a 70-year-old grandma that was raped by her son's tenant. We have also seen about 55 males that were raped by men. So this underscores the point that rape is not a women's issue. Yes. It affects everybody. And almost 75% of our clients are minors. And about 99 or about 98% of the perpetrators are known to the survivors, which also highlights the fact that rape is, the perpetrators are not strangers. They are people that they know. So most of the time, people say, be wary of strangers. Don't talk to strangers. Strangers are not the problem when it comes to the issue of rape, at least according to our own, data that we have. The people that they know, fathers, stepfathers, brothers, uncles. In the African setting, everybody is an uncle. So those uncles go on to rape children. And then we have, it happens everywhere. It happens in the school, it happens in the home, it happens on the road, it happens in the school buses, it happens, the security officer can be a perpetrator, your husband, your brother, anybody can be a perpetrator. Now, one of the things we face constantly is the issue of denial. When you talk to women, as we're talking now, people get horrified when you build out the data and statistics. It's happening, it's happening, it's happening. But the minute they walk out that door, they're gone, they forget it, because they believe it cannot happen to them. They believe they are covered by the blood of Jesus. They believe it's not their portion. Fine, beautiful. Nobody expects to be raped. Nobody expects to be a victim. Nobody expects her child, her neighbor, her sister's child to be raped. But that doesn't mean that it cannot happen. So it's better, I was talking to Imam, I said it's better to be mad than to be a victim. Because if you're mad, that means you know that it can happen. Right. That means that you know that anybody can be a perpetrator. That means that you've taken steps to protect your children, to protect your home. It also means that you're looking out for the signs. So that provides kind of safety net, not just for you, but also for your children. Like I said, between 4 months old and 70 years old, all of us in this room are in that age bracket. So it can happen to any of us. So we need to be careful. We need to make sure that we know the signs. We need to be sure that to make sure that we know the available tools. Lagos State isn't joking anymore with the issues of rape and domestic violence. Over 70% of our clients, their perpetrators are in detention. It happens. And so once it's reported, we speed up the process. We make sure it gets done. Unfortunately for us, since Lagos State is not joking, it doesn't take a lot of effort. All you need to do is identify the perpetrator and the person gets picked up. So maybe I'll just stop here later and speak as well.
Good morning. My name is Ihioma Abibi. We said to talk about what we do.
What you do and what resources available.
Okay. I wear several hats. I am the Executive Director of Alliances for Africa, an international development agency. We do a lot of work around women's human rights, women in politics and decision making. But I'm also the creative director of a small business called Intimate Pleasures, Desires of the Heart. Excuse me. I do a lot of work around female sexuality, sexual desires, reproductive rights, reproductive health, counseling. What does it mean? I give talks to women who are about to be married, to all sorts of places, reunions, people who went to the FGC colleges that are supposed to be reviewing, meeting themselves again after 10, 15 years. Sometimes I'm one of those speakers that they advise to come and talk about health issues, specifically around women and sexual desire and intimacy, or women and intimacy up to a certain age, menopause, etc. Within that context, I find that a lot of people want to know how I started and why I started working in that area. And one of the things I always say is that it found me. I didn't find it. It came to me. It wasn't something that I wanted to do. I was quite happy where I was. But upon everything that we would do, women would still say, Bedma, I want to speak to you. I want to ask you a question. And because I was already comfortable talking about sexual rights, sexual health, I had no illusions about my own sexual desire. I wasn't ashamed of it. But it also helped that I didn't grow up in this community as such. So I didn't have some of those issues about acknowledging my needs. I could comfortably talk about it, but I could also comfortably listen to what you had to say. And that's how I found myself running this business. It does mean that I'm in the front line, whereas I would rather be at the back. So I will have customers ring who may have been victims of a sexual assault when they were minors, and it was never addressed. They are now in a relationship, a committed relationship, a committed marriage, and they find themselves unable to fully enjoy that relationship because they have baggage that has not been addressed. And so what I do, when they call the hotline, they're looking to talk to somebody or to buy a sex toy or to generally just have a conversation. And once I start talking to them and I realize that they've come to the wrong place, I send them on to her office. The counselor, I say, there's a counselor, it's free, you don't have to do anything, just call and talk to somebody because you're not in the right place. I do a lot of work around talking to young women. We make a lot of assumptions about young women and their sexual health. Unless the young woman has gone to school in the UK or in the US, if it's here that they've gone to school, they don't have any information about their sexual desire, about their sexual health, or their sexual needs. What they are told is that they need to be virginous. They need to be virgins. They need to close their legs. And so therefore, the issue of recognizing the signals of putting themselves in danger for a potential assault to take place, or even recognizing irresponsible behavior in a male friend sometimes comes as a shock because they just didn't get the memo about those signals. They were never told that, don't be in a dark room or by yourself. When you go out, be careful what you drink. Don't let them spike your drinks. There's a date rape. Those things are standard practice in the UK for children. Once you get to the age of 14, 15, there's something called PSHE, physical, social, health, education classes. And you are automatically, the classes are geared to your age level. So as you go up a year, the class, they give you the information. And you're constantly told that your sexual health is your responsibility and nobody else's responsibility. And it's done in such a subtle way to make you self-aware. So, and the idea is that STDs are a public nuisance and a public health disaster. HIV/AIDS is a public health disaster. Do you understand? Right. So there are wider implications. Whereas with our young people here, there's very limited information about where they can access adequate information around those things. But more importantly, no one wants to acknowledge that the lack of education around sexual health, reproductive health, has an effect on both genders. So our boys don't know what is appropriate behavior or not. They think that if they keep on bugging you, you will just agree because you'll be fed up. And if you don't agree. I mean, one young boy said to me one day, Auntie, I take Fox to collect them now. And I said to him, you know that's rape. And he was absolutely horrified that I used the rape word. He couldn't, in his conscience, acknowledge that his behavior was rape behavior. And I said, but she didn't want to give it to you now. Sure, you say you take Fox to collect them. What does that mean? And he was too dazed to actually acknowledge and be honest that he had raped somebody. But the thing is, when I spent some time talking to him, he actually didn't even know that his behavior constituted rape behavior. And one of the reasons is that he'd never been told. We don't tell them anything, do we? Let's be honest now, all of you in the audience. How many of you have your parents at any point in time told you that if a girl said no, she means no? How many of you? The boys. You haven't been told, have you? Right. And so and these are older young adults, and it's standard practice. Many of them don't know. And so therefore, the behavior we are beginning to discuss at this level, we should have started engaging when they were in years JS1. Do you understand me? I'm beginning to discuss with them the responsibility of what is expected of them as young adults. If a girl says no, she means no. If a girl is behaving in a way you don't like, it doesn't mean you should gang up with your friends to rape her, to teach her a lesson. Do you understand? So there are lots of things that my business has had to deal with that was not in the business plan, but I'm now having to engage with, because as customers that come to me, they're putting it on the table. Am I making sense?
Yes, absolutely. Oh, she has a mic.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Blessing Timidi. I'm a sexual reproductive health and rights advocate. How did I start? I got pregnant at the age of 17, and in that process I was exposed to a lot of stigma and discrimination. In fact, some health providers outrightly chased me back when they see my age and they feel you're too young to get pregnant. Prior to keeping the pregnancy, I tried to have an abortion done. I tried 3 times, and hospitals would charge exorbitantly for abortions. The ones that were ready to carry out the abortions are quacks, and they charge as less as maybe 2,000, 1,500. And if you don't have complete money, the doctor would actually ask you to have sex with him and then give him the money grant so he can, carry out the abortion. The first time I went to, a facility, the quack facility for the abortion, they had just finished carrying out an abortion for someone else, and I was in the room when they were trying to clean up the tools with tissue and Dettol.
Wow.
And it didn't seem right. Everywhere just seemed very dirty and messed up. In fact, the stuff they had packed from the previous person was there in the bucket on the floor. So I guess they were waiting till that bucket is filled up. Once they do for a lot of us and it's filled up, they'll go throw it away.
Oh my God.
I couldn't go ahead until that first time. So I went and left, and I came back again the second time. The second time it was even worse. The third time I went to a doctor who knew my father, and somehow I knew I couldn't do it. So I had to own up to my parents, and my father is clergy, so it was a tug of war also at home. But eventually my dad put his foot down and was able to grant me some support. My father was able to announce to the church himself that his daughter is pregnant, but she's not church kin, she's his child. So he wants privacy to handle the matter himself. And that was able to word of, some tongues.
Right.
Yes, people kept talking, but it was not like before.
Right.
Because, yes, right now, my parents are in the know, and they support me. They cannot kill me because, so people are like, if our parents are supporting us, then what's our own? It helped to an extent. But in that process, my eyes got open to a lot of things young girls go through. And I realized that even at home, my father was talking to everybody, counseling everybody, saving everybody's life and marriage and child. But at home, he didn't have, nobody, my father did not have, I don't think, I started having sex, constant sex, before my father tried to talk to me about sex, and I was like, you are many years late. My mother is a teacher, but never for once, the only thing I remember my mom telling me is,
Don't get
if a boy
pregnant.
touches you,
You're getting pregnant.
Yeah. And my mom is a teacher, but she still teaches. And then the next thing she was going to tell me after I had a child was, you need to get yourself protected. She was not telling me how. Wait, just get yourself protected. So even if I'm drinking, whatever, as far as I don't get pregnant again, she was fine with it. And I realized that that's what plays out in the society. Teenage pregnancy is not a Christian thing or a Muslim thing or an illiterate thing. It can happen to anybody at any time. Even menstruating, my mother never... I had this crazy experience one time. I opened always, and I used the adhesive part where I'm supposed to stick to my hand. I stuck it to my private part.
Oh boy.
So when I was going to pull it off,
It's like waxing.
it was whoa. And it was because nobody taught me. You bought it for me and just assumed that automatically. Even when they bring it to our schools, because then in unity schools, always will come and share that mighty green pad. Nobody was teaching us how to. We don't assume that our mothers or our teachers have taught us. And it's playing out in the society. Nobody's talking about menstruation. Many churches, like the church I coincidentally grew up in, label it as being dirty. So you don't come to church during your menstruation. And then nobody is telling you anything, Boys now use this as an entry point to just grab you and then just, mess you up. And because you don't know and you're not getting love and information from the right place, you believe what is coming from this place. So in my line of work, I talk about menstruation, female genital mutilation, child marriage, talk about issues that affect our sexual and reproductive health and rights. Recently, normally we talk to parents, girls, we go to schools, engage policymakers. But recently we start engaging religious leaders, and it's been a crazy experience. It's a new experience that is very crazy because the Nigerian society, everything, we tune the Bible or the Quran to buttress what we want to do. So even when somebody is being raped, you will be shocked that somebody has a Bible verse to support it, that a man must be. So even when the woman is not submitting, the man has to help her to submit. And I'm like, how? So we talk about a whole lot of things, and then people don't like to hear them, but then we have to talk about them. And sometimes they try to relate it to feminism. I'm a feminist. I don't apologize for it. I'm proudly feminist. And then people try to say, oh, it's because the women don't want to marry early. They don't want to, But we realize that this information is lacking. And for many of us, we carry it from our childhood
To
adulthood. And somehow, when we now have children, we pass it across. And for my mother and my dad, I had to really talk to them and tell them about menstruation and all that. We had to really have this one-on-one discussion because in line of my work, I get to travel a lot. So many times I will bundle my kids and drop them with you. I need to know that we're on the same page so that my kid at home she feels, she knows that menstruation is a biological thing. There's nothing to be ashamed about. Even if she gets stained, go clean up, it's okay.
Right.
And not come to my parents' place and then you tell her, you're dirty,
Yeah.
you're unclean, please don't get here, don't touch this, don't do this. So we, in that SRHR, we try to balance the discussion. It's not just about the girls. Boys also have SRHR issues, but it affects girls mostly.
Absolutely.
But we also carry boys along because culture and religion always make us put the boys or the men above the females. So sometimes you can't even take family planning of your own accord. You have to now meet with the bros and deliberate and now draw a timetable, and then you have to beg and you have to plead and you have to. Many of us cannot even negotiate safe sex when it's known that stilting is a form of sexual assault. If you tell the guy I want to use a condom and halfway he removes that condom, that's sexual assault.
Yes.
Because you have not given him consent. But many of us do not know. So in the line of my work, we get to talk about these difficult things seemingly difficult things that are not really Nigerian per se. We see it as it's Weibo people that this thing affects, but it's living with us day in, day out. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good morning. My name is Jola Olua IAM, and I am a volunteer at Scanty End Rape Initiative. I'm actually a content creator, so I write skits and series and stories and things like that. But I've always been extremely passionate. When I was younger, my parents used to say I was so dramatic. So if something happens to someone else, I'll cry for them. If someone is hurting, I'll be annoyed that people are comfortable. So I'm a pastor's child, and in church people cry all the time. And I would get so upset that you would sit with people for 3 hours, somebody's crying from the beginning to the end of the service, and then all you see is my sister, it is well, and just go. So I'd always felt very uncomfortable with that notion. And unlike my friend Blessing here, my parents tried in their own way. So my parents became Christians in the 80s, fire and brimstone. And what that did was that while there were a lot of benefits, one of the things it did is that it closed people's mouths. And it made a lot of things. People switched culture and religion. So when their pastors would teach them things that he personally had as personal doctrine, he would shape it as the voice of God. So if he didn't like something, so he would take Paul's verse about covering your hair and turn it into a doctrine. But that also influenced things about talking about sex and sexuality. And so I remember when my father was my mom never spoke to me about sex, which is very odd. My mother is my best friend, right? But unnaturally close. I tell her all the time, this our behavior is not normal. But she never spoke to me about sex. So I think they had a discussion on collar. I fell on him to do the info. So I'll never forget, they used food to bribe me. And they were going for brunch. So he carried me to Sheraton. I ate and I was so excited. I ate and I ate. When he saw that, okay, she's now relaxed, he took me to the lobby, brought out one horrific looking science textbook, and brought out a Bible. And we had the worst conversation on sex I've ever had in my entire life. That started and ended with virtues of God. See, when somebody starts like that, it can't go anywhere good. So it started with about virtue being of God, something about blood, secretions, and I was 12. I was just, at that point, I listened too much, I was just tired. I was like, what is this guy? I was going up to boarding, because I was going up to boarding house, he was trying to, let's just quickly do this thing, so that this girl won't go and they won't confuse her. And I carried that confusion. I went to a very religious secondary school for the first 2 years. And so I carried a lot of that mentality with me. I was horrified of sex till I was 16. And what happened when I was 16 is I'd done quite well in school. So my dad was ready for me to go to a private A-level school abroad. And I remember thinking that these white children are all going to hell. That was the first thing I thought, because they were so free to talk about sex.
Yes.
One of the first things I was asked when I came into school was, are you sexually active? I said, I'm 16! And she said, oh, the counselor, it was an all-girls school, so that was the first thing. We were very free in an all-girls school. Sometimes if you are upset in class, your male teacher would ask you, say, are you on your period? Is everything all right? Would you like to see someone? So we were in a very free environment. And one of the first things she said to me was, are you sexually active? I said, oh, no, I'm not. She said, okay, is there a particular reason you're not? I said, oh, it's a religious reason. She said, that's very good. That's another thing. Nobody shames you for who you are or what you believe in. She said, okay, that's very good, but I need to give you information. And I was there 16, learning what my friends had been learning from the age of 10 in about an hour. And so after that, I remember my friends, all the Nigerians, it's a very Nigerian thing. We would meet up. It's almost like we would attract ourselves from wherever we were. The Nigerians would find themselves. Once you hear a Nigerian accent on the street in London, you just turn. It's very true. No matter if you're ordinary, you wouldn't be friends at home.
Right.
Once you hear that accent, you see they are your age range. And I realized we didn't know a lot. And so I carried that with me to university.